Brown cheese is a beloved sliced bread topping in Norway, but a lot of tourists strongly dislike it when they try it. I think this is because they are expecting cheese. If anything, brown cheese tastes a bit caramelly, so try going into it not expecting anything like cheese. Whereas traditional cheese is made by curdling milk, separating the solid curds from the liquid whey, and then processing the curds, brown cheese is made by boiling that whey with milk and cream for hours until the milk sugars caramelize, creating its sweet, buttery flavor and brown color. The longer it boils, the darker and richer it becomes, resulting in a fudge-like product that's cooled and molded. Goat cheese is one specific version of brown cheese, but there's also a version that is made from only cow's milk and a version that contains a mix of the two. Several people in my comments have expressed annoyance with the fact that Norwegian brown cheese is named that despite not being very much like traditional cheese at all. And some have angrily suggested that we should change the name as to not confuse the tourists anymore. But here's the thing, we didn't name it for the tourists. That's just what it has always been called here in Norway, and we're not really that bothered by a few foreigners ending up disliking it because they have the wrong expectations. Our language and culture does not revolve around coddling Americans or anyone else visiting. If my videos can turn a few opinions on it, then that's great, but we're not going to change the name for anyone. As to why it's even called cheese when it's made using a completely different process, let's think more simplistic about it. Both traditional cheese and brown cheese are big solid blocks of food made from milk. If we decide to focus on that similarity as opposed to the arbitrary factor of exactly how it's made, then it starts to make a lot more sense. But since we do call it brown cheese in Norway, you can't always just say cheese and expect people to know that you're talking about normal cheese. Instead, we often specify with hvitost or gulost, which means white or yellow cheese, which we pretty much use interchangeably. But whether it's brown, white or yellow, the best tool for portioning out cheese is the Norwegian cheese slicer. Brown cheese comes in bricks so dense and sticky that it can only be sliced properly with a cheese slicer. The modern cheese slicer, or cheese plane, was invented in 1925 by Norwegian Tor Bjørklund, and mass production started soon after. You'd be hard pressed to find a Norwegian home without at least one cheese slicer in the kitchen drawer. Even though you can now get both white and brown cheese pre-sliced, a lot of people, myself included, prefer the blocks. They just taste better for some reason. The cheese slicer design was based on the carpenter's plane and is usually used to cut semi-hard to hard white cheeses and brown cheese. The inventor also tried to make a butter slicer, but this idea was scrapped after the first prototype. Brown cheese is not some Norwegian delicacy, as some tour guides that probably aren't even Norwegian may try to tell you. It's one of the most common Norwegian bread toppings you'll find. Only pretty recently has it become a trendy ingredient in desserts and candy such as ice cream and chocolate, and these are mostly targeted at tourists. But brown cheese works best as a topping, not as an ingredient. The most common way to use it is on bread, buns or waffles, either with butter or jam or just by itself. This is a staple of Norwegian lunch packs for everyone from kindergarteners to pensioners. The only thing that it is traditionally used as an ingredient in is in meat stews, particularly for game meat such as reindeer stews. Throwing a few slices in at the end of cooking adds a sweet savory roundness to the taste that makes the stew that much more delicious. Other less common ways to use brown cheese that I have seen mentioned in my comments include eating it with apple slices or grapes, on bread with white cheese and caviar, or with tomatoes and onions. But in my opinion, none of these options beats simply having it with jam on bread or waffles. I guess that is the Norwegian version of peanut butter and jam, because I've seen some people describe brown cheese as having a caramelly peanut butter flavor. But I've also seen it compared with, and excuse my pronunciation on this, dulce de leche, jamanchilo, mimolette, kajita, and rududu. I can't verify this, as I have not tried any of these, but they are all some variation of caramelized milk, so I believe it. In Sweden, they call brown cheese mesost, or the more spreadable mesmør, which we call prim in Norway. And in America, brown cheese is imported under the name Ski Queen. Norwegian brown cheese became a big trend food in South Korea a few years back, and it's still quite popular there. Unlike in Norway, where we use the cheese slicer, the Koreans prefer grating their brown cheese on their food. It's big on pizzas, on ice cream, croissant waffles, in various baked goods, and as topping on warm food such as burgers and noodles. Synnøve Finden is the Norwegian dairy company with the most success in the Korean market, but Tine has recently secured distribution rights in China, probably inspired by this South Korean success story. If you want even more brown cheese content, I've also covered the 2013 brown cheese tunnel fire that burned for 4 whole days and cost Norway several $1,000,000. And since you've watched this far, please just press the like button. It makes a huge difference for basically no effort. Commenting and subscribing is obviously even better. Thank you for watching.